Life is what happens to you along the way.
We're not meant to be alone.
Pourquoi tu vas pas et tu te présentes à lui?
Qu'est-ce que tu fais, maman?
Right now I'm dabbling in real estate.
I was involved in a car accident last year. I saw you kill this man. I saw you strangle him. Do it!
Their first date starts off normal, but it doesn't take long for her true motives to surface. She takes him for a drive and drops a bombshell. She has video evidence of him killing someone. She wants him to kill the drunk driver who disfigured her in a car crash. And if he refuses, she'll turn the footage over to the police. She keeps pushing him, getting more and more worked up, demanding that he go and take the guy out immediately. Frustrated, Victor pulls out his gun, accidentally fires a shot through the window, then speeds off. At an intersection, Beatrice gives him an ultimatum. Either he accepts her deal, or he kills her right then and there. Then, she gets out of the car. Later, when she's back home reading the newspaper, she finds out the drunk driver only served 3 weeks in jail. The next day, Victor and his old friend Gregor visit an arms dealer to buy a sniper rifle. Gregor questions why Victor is still working for Alphonse if his real goal is to kill him. That's when we finally learn the truth. Victor has been playing the long game, infiltrating Alphonse's crew to get revenge. Alphonse's men had killed Victor's wife 2 years ago, and in the process, they accidentally took his daughter's life too. Now, he's making sure Alphonse pays for what he did. Victor then heads to an abandoned ship, where he's keeping someone hostage, the brother of an Albanian crime boss named Ilir. This guy had a hand in helping Alphonse wipe out Victor's family. Victor's plan is to stir up a war between the Albanians and Alphonse's gang, so that he could take them all down in one go. Later, he meets up with Beatrice to talk about the guy she wants him to kill. He's been tracking the man for a couple of days, but tells her he needs more time. While at her place, Beatrice's mother shows Victor pictures of Beatrice from before the accident. She was stunning. Meanwhile, Alphonse has a heated conversation with his business partner, Lon. Lon is furious about the way Alphonse handled things, especially killing Harry. Victor takes this opportunity to set up his sniper rifle, getting ready to take Alphonse out. Lon reveals that he also received threatening photos and a mysterious key, then asks Alphonse if he knows anything about it. When Alphonse pieces the notes together, he realizes Harry wasn't behind the threats, someone else is. At the same time, Beatrice spots Victor on the rooftop, watching the meeting. Meanwhile, Lon tells Alphonse that he can't keep doing business with him if these threats continue, as it puts everything at risk. Darcy is also digging into the threats, and he warns Alphonse that he's in danger. As Alphonse leaves a restaurant, Victor takes out his driver and sends him a message, asking if he's received the key yet. Realizing he's been exposed, Victor makes a run for it as Alphonse's men start chasing him. They storm into the building he was hiding in, but Victor takes one of them out by wrapping a rope around his neck and tossing him out the window. Victor keeps moving, taking down more enemies, but eventually he finds himself in trouble. That's when Beatrice pulls up in a car and helps him escape. They drive off, but Alphonse's men are hot on their tail. A few blocks away, Beatrice parks, and Victor kisses her just as the men approach the car. Darcy yanks open the door, but Victor plays it cool, pretending he just got there. Darcy and the others buy the lie and report back to Alphonse that the shooter escaped in a cab. Alphonse, furious, orders them to track down where the cab went. Victor then leaves with Darcy, who's determined to move up the ranks in Alphonse's criminal empire. Meanwhile, Alphonse uses the key to open a mailbox, where he finds missing pieces of an old photograph. Back at his apartment, Victor calls Beatrice. She comes over, and he asks if she followed him earlier. She denies it but insists she was only trying to help. As they talk, Victor finally opens up about why he wants Alphonse dead. Revenge for his family. Beatrice then asks about the drunk driver, wondering if he's made any progress in killing him. Victor says he hasn't done it yet. That night, Victor waits outside the drunk driver's house, preparing to sneak in when the man leaves. Elsewhere, Alphonse discovers a hidden microphone planted in his phone, making him even more paranoid. The next morning, Victor goes to an abandoned warehouse that serves as Alphonse's headquarters. He checks on explosives he's planted in the attic, but just as he's making adjustments, Alphonse and his crew arrive. Suddenly, Victor realizes there's an issue with the remote detonator. He quickly comes down from the attic and blends in with the rest of the men to avoid suspicion. Later, Victor reaches out to Gregor, who warns him that if he wants to set off the explosives, he has to be close enough to the building. Otherwise, he'll need to change the whole setup. Victor doesn't have time to change his whole plan, so he decides to take the risk. Meanwhile, Beatrice drops by and stumbles upon his room, filled with maps and notes, his whole revenge strategy laid out. He opens up a little, mentioning his military past. When she realizes he's willing to throw his life away for revenge, she gets upset, realizing she actually cares about him. On the other side of town, Ilir, the head of an Albanian gang, gets a package. Inside, a picture of his missing brother, plus a family photo of Victor that's been cut into pieces, just like the ones Alphonse received. Later that night, Darcy calls Victor through the intercom. He claims he's found the sniper who tried to take out Alphonse. They head to the spot where a cab dropped off Paul before his murder, but it's a dead end. Victor makes an excuse and leaves. That night, Victor sneaks into the old warehouse, but walks right into his setup. Alphonse and his men are waiting. Knowing the threats are coming from someone in his own ranks, Alphonse sets a trap to catch them all. When Victor arrives, Alphonse threatens him, saying he'll destroy whatever the traitor loves most. But since Victor saved his life earlier, Alphonse hesitates and lets him go for now. Later, Victor pays a visit to his captive, Ilir's brother. He forces him to record a message, making it seem like Alphonse is the one holding him hostage. As a final touch, Victor releases rats into the room to torment him, but ultimately puts him out of his misery with a bullet. He then gives Beatrice the tape, asking her to send it to Ilir to stir trouble between him and Alphonse. Meanwhile, Darcy keeps digging into Paul's murder and tells Victor that Paul had been looking for the grave of some Hungarian guy. The mystery is starting to unravel. That same day, Victor meets up with Gregor, who warns him that he still has time to walk away. But Victor's in too deep. One afternoon, while Beatrice is out, a group of kids throws rocks at her, causing her to fall and hit her head. When Victor visits and notices the wound, she brushes it off, saying she just tripped. She also lets him know she sent the tape. As she leaves, Victor asks her out again, and she agrees. Darcy later calls Victor with an important discovery. The person threatening Alphonse and kidnapping Ilir's brother might be a Hungarian named Laszlo Kerik, the same guy Alphonse and his men supposedly killed. The shocking twist? Victor is Laszlo Kerik. He changed his identity to infiltrate the gang and get revenge for his murdered family. That night, Victor takes Beatrice on a date. During the ride, he tells her he's finally going to kill the man who disfigured her. She confesses she has feelings for him, but he coldly tells her they can't have a future together. They arrive at a bar, wait for the drunk driver to leave, and Victor pulls the trigger. Mission complete. Meanwhile, Alphonse and his crew follow Darcy to a cemetery, where they find Laszlo Kerik's grave. But now they suspect the man they killed wasn't him. The next day, Ilir gets another package, and Alphonse calls him, asking if he's sure Laszlo is really dead. Beatrice later receives a letter revealing that Victor didn't kill the drunk driver right away because he wanted to buy more time with her, knowing the act would mentally break her. Elsewhere, Victor finishes rigging the warehouse with explosives, setting the stage for the final showdown. Darcy arrives at Victor's apartment, but when no one answers, he breaks in. At the same time, Beatrice calls Victor, confessing she never sent the tape. She couldn't go through with it because she didn't want to see him die. She begs him to leave town with her. Meanwhile, Darcy uncovers Victor's true plans and realizes everything. When Beatrice returns home, Darcy overpowers her and takes her phone. He calls Victor, revealing that everyone is waiting for him at Alphonse's hideout. Victor knows this is it. He drives straight there, just as the Albanians arrive. Then, in a dramatic moment, every phone in the house starts ringing. Victor floors the gas and crashes straight into the building. A massive shootout erupts. Victor methodically takes out every enemy in sight, sparing only Darcy. He makes his way to Beatrice, who's being held by Alphonse and Ilir on the top floor. She manages to escape while Victor distracts them by playing the hostage's video recording. When Ilir hears it, he immediately turns on Alphonse, believing he was betrayed. Both men raise their guns, arguing until they both fire. As Victor and Beatrice try to escape, Darcy corners them with his gun drawn. Instead of pulling the trigger, he asks Victor if he spared his life because he has a family. Victor simply says, "No, because they have you." Understanding the deeper meaning, Darcy lowers his gun, letting them go. Victor and Beatrice leave everything behind, taking the subway home. They kiss, knowing their pasts are finally behind them. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more videos.